Hey guys, today we have something special for you. We have the new iDataLink AR along with the Kenwood Exelon XR
600 SDSP.
These two products are designed to work together. We have a Dodge Ram that has the 8.4-inch touchscreen with the Alpine system. So join us as we take you along this install and show you all the cool features that these things have together. So for those of you unfamiliar with the Maestro AR, what this allows you to do is take cars like this Dodge Ram that have a factory premium sound system, this one has the Alpine system, and integrate into it and get a full preamp section out of it without having to use any high level to low level adapters. It taps into the data bus of the car to achieve this. Now there's two pieces you'll need for every one of these installs. You'll need the AR, and then you'll need some form of a T-harness. Let's take a look at what comes in the AR first. Inside the AR, you get the actual AR module. It also comes with a USB adapter. That plugs into the side of the AR here, and then you plug this into your computer. Now also in the box is an instruction sheet that'll walk you through the process of going to the website to get the right firmware. But we'll show you here. Once you plug it in, you're going to want to go to the iDataLink Maestro site, click Flash Your Module. When you click that, you'll be redirected to their new site. Once on their new site, simply answer the questions. Pick your make of car, model of car, what system you have in your car. Then go ahead and flash the unit. When you're done, download your installation guide if they have it available for you. Go ahead and do that. Select the vehicle that you're working on. This manual will tell you what it's capable of doing, if there's any process needed for once it's installed, a diagram or schematic for the wiring, as well as what all the colors and their locations are for. Once you're done with that, go ahead and unplug this and just save this in case you need it for a later flash. Next you have the iDataLink connection, which is this guy right here. Go ahead and plug that into the brain right now so that you don't lose it. The harness that you'll need is going to have a blue A on it. That's for AR. If it has RR on it, you got the wrong harness. This is the CH2 harness. Now inside the box is going to be all the wiring that you need to connect your amplifier to the AR. So you have an OBD2 connection, you have a small white harness, you have a speaker harness, then you have a speaker harness that will plug into your AR as well as to the amplifier itself. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the amplifier that we're going to be using for this. This amplifier is designed to only work with the RR right now. Inside the box you'll find an installation sheet and the amplifier itself. You'll also find some Allen keys and some screws. So this amplifier has 75 watts by 6 at 4 ohms or 100 watts by 6 at 2 ohms. It also has a channel 7 and 8 and 9 and 10 output. This amplifier is actually configured using Kenwood's smartphone app for programming. It has a DSP, an EQ. It allows you to set up what each channel is as far as the output for power as well as the output for RCAs. So for example, you can do front, rear, sub like we're doing in this one. You could do front tweeter, front mid, rear. You could do tweeter, mid bass. And then you can configure these for rear, center, or sub, or any other one of the combinations. You'll notice right here it has the input for the iData connection, which is this guy right here is going to plug in, as well as the iData connection, which goes right here. Now it has a standard 4-gauge input, but what you'll notice is not here is remote turn on. The remote turn on is generated through the iData connection. The other thing too to keep in mind is these are line outs, not line ins. On the back of the amplifier, there's a fan, there's a USB input for updates, there's a Bluetooth status LED, there's an operation mode switch, and also some switches for various resets you can do on the amplifier. Now to get to the screws on the amplifier, you do have to remove these two Allen heads. You'll notice these Allen wrenches are rather long. That's because they're deep down in there and they don't want you to use something that can short out to the aluminum chassis on the amplifier. So if you're going to use your own Allen keys, just be careful, don't use something that's too short. They do warn you of that in the owner's manual. Now anytime you're doing an amplifier that has screws like this, it's best to just go ahead and put the screws back in until you're done with the amplifier. So when going to install your amplifier and AR combination together, as we showed, it plugs in like this, and then your data connection plugs into the amplifier also. It's designed so that the AR is mounted by the amplifier. The only downside is that it can only be so far away. Well, Kenwood has thought of this and has addressed the issue. Inside the box, it comes with 2 extension harnesses. A long, thick one here, which is designed to plug into the universal harness, and then the amplifier itself. And this will give you about 17 to 18 feet of wire. And then a second harness, which is designed to replace the AR's harness, main harness here, and then plug back into the brain. Now this will allow you to mount the AR next to the amplifier and have all your factory wiring at some distance away. Like in this Dodge Ram that we're doing, this is gonna mount underneath the back seat. The amplifier factory is located up in the dash. So in some applications you won't need to lengthen these. You'll be able to mount this where the factory amplifier goes. In this application, we're not going to be able to do that because we just don't want to shoehorn this guy up into the dash. It sticks down about 1.5 to 2 inches lower than the existing amplifier, and I feel it's just not worth the trouble. We're going to go ahead and mount this in the back to where we can have it lay flat and get better circulation than having it cook up in the dash. So to install the iData AR, we need to locate the factory amplifier in the car. It just so happens in the Dodge Ram to be over here by the emergency brake. Now we don't need to remove the amplifier because we're not going to be putting our Kenwood amplifier there. We just need to unplug it so that we can plug in the cables for our AR. So check this out. So this guy right here, these are the 2 harnesses we need. So all we have to do is reach up in here and unplug them and pull them down. We have the 2 harnesses that we need right here. So let's take a look at these speaker harnesses. Now it has a main speaker harness and it has the main power plug. Off to the side of it, it has speaker wires as well. And on page 6 of the Ram's instruction manuals, it gives you a breakdown. It tells you what they've called it, what their color is, the positive, negative, and then where in the vehicle, according to their chart below, it's located. So for example, on the main power white harness here, you have sub 3, left front 2, center 1, and right front 2. Now if we come over here to where it says left front 2, that's telling us it's the tweeter in position 5, which is the dash. Now for this install, we just need the 2 tweeters, which are going to be left front 2 and right front 2. The other wires we're not going to be using. Now in the main speaker harness, you have right rear 2, right front 1, right rear 1, sub 1, left rear 1, left front 1, sub 2, left rear 2. And what these are going to correspond to there again is on the chart here. So really all we need is the rear doors, the front doors, and the tweeters in the dash. We have the tweeters in the dash, so we're going to need 1 and 2, which are going to be left front 1 and left front 2, which they're using the standard wire colors for, which is white and gray. White being drivers, gray being passengers. And then we're going to need 8 and 9, which is left rear 1 green and left rear 2 purple. So go ahead and pull those out as well. Now, not all cars are going to have all speakers on this. It's a universal plug, so it's going to have all the wires. So now what we're going to do is go ahead and cut these wires we're not using and tape them up. And then we're going to solder in some wire so that we can run it from the rear to the front. Fernando, what speakers are we using for this one?
The Alpine R-Type.
So we're doing 4 6x9s?
4 6x9s and the tweeters on the dash.
What are we doing to the door?
We roll kill the door and we're gonna use fast rings.
Cool. Did you put the little plugs in the back and all that?
Yeah.
So we're going with 2 sets of Alpine R-Type speakers. The new Alpine R-Type speakers have this cool little red stripe on them. So if you're getting a set of these, you want the new ones, make sure it has that red stripe. We're also going to do 2 Kicker Comp RT10s and an A-Trends D-Box. Let's go ahead and get that wired up right now. Now the cool thing about these Kicker Comp RTs is they come in a dual 1 or a dual 2. What that means is like we want a 2 ohm stereo load for the amplifier. So we want 2 ohm here 2 ohm here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna connect a jumper from this negative around to this positive. Now I like to use either a 10 or 12 gauge wire to do this, and I want to make sure they're the same exact length on both woofers. Now we have an available positive and available negative. We're going to go ahead and hook our speaker wires up to that, and that's going to give us a 2 ohm load on this side as well as a 2 ohm load on that side. So we've gone ahead and lengthened our wires, and then we've covered it with the loom. Now we're going to go ahead and add some ferrules onto the end so we can put them into the amplifier. Alright, so we have our speaker harness all assembled and ready to go. Now one other thing that we need to take care of is this note down here. What this is talking about is if you're going to use the Kenwood extension harness, which we are, we have to modify it a little bit. When this is connected without the extension harness, you have gray to gray, white to white, blue to purple, purple to white, which is that cool little white and black harness it came with. That would typically plug right into the purple harness, which is right here. Well, this connection isn't located here at the amplifier in order for it to do. So what they want you to do is tap into the harness here at the amplifier, go ahead and cut off the white end here, and then you want to solder it into the connections where the purple black would normally be. So that would be the pink and yellow. So we're going to go ahead and cut this back some and solder in those wires. So the only harness we have left to pretty up is this one here. So we're just going to go ahead and finish this guy up. Alright, so the rest of this we're going to leave to get into the car to zip tie into a nice tight bundle. The only thing we have left to do at this point, other than put it actually in the car, is to connect our power wire, our sub wire, and make a bracket for this to mount into the car. Alright, so the plan is to mount the amplifier here. There is this bolt here that we have, and this bolt over here that we have, that we're thinking about somehow making some form of a connection that will allow us to keep the amplifier from moving around. Probably thinking more towards this one, some kind of an L bracket. What we want to do is get the basic layout for what we have thus far. So we don't want to jam the amplifier all the way to the back, because we need the fan to breathe. So we'll just kind of go there. Plus we have to make sure that the box doesn't get in the way. So we still have all the wiring. So if we go 9 inches, 9 by 16, because we need some place to put the RR. So let's actually go 9 by 17. Yeah, that'll work. Actually, if we bring it all the way over to here, say 19. Ooh, even better. So 19 inches that way. And we'll go 12, because we'll come all the way up to this bolt. So 19 by 12. Let's go cut a 19 by 12. I'm gonna remove some from the seat belt here. gonna remove that corner. All right, let's try that. We need to cut some off of here and then some of this front off. Let's go do that. All right, let's test fit the box, make sure it works. All right,
Yeah.
plenty of room. Lift it back up. So we have our lock bolt here. The amp will mount all the way over to this far side here. There's room here behind it for it to breathe. The RR can mount right here, and all our wires will come down and come through right here. There's a channel right here underneath the carpet that it can come around and out the front. Now we're gonna put a piece of Velcro to hold this in place, mainly just because these are flashable and there might be a software update that comes down the road, and we'll need to be able to get this out fairly easily. So I don't want to screw it in, but I don't want it flopping around in the car. Alright, so the amp is all done. If you'll notice, the one thing is there's no gain crossover, there's no knobs on this whatsoever. That's why we went ahead and attached all these speaker wires, because there's gonna be no setup. The reason why is because it knows what it's getting connected to. The reason why you have a gain on anything is because there's different output voltages depending on whatever radio you're putting in, so you have to have a way to match the output voltage with the input sensitivity. They already know what's coming into it, so there's no reason to put a gain on this. The reason why there's no crossovers or anything else like that is because it's all done through that phone app. So with this, we're done. That's it. Let's get this thing into the car. So we have the amplifier all mounted in place and secured. We have the wires ran, all insulated and out of the way. So if you've seen any of our shows before, you realize that mounting the fuse holder is a big key in what we do. We want to make sure that this is safely secured underneath the hood and that it is not going to get in the way of service or anything like that. So with this, we're going to come out with a plan to mount the fuse holder someplace safely. And it doesn't have to be overly complicated. Sometimes it's as simple as building just an L shape that'll allow you to mount the fuse holder. And in this case, that looks exactly like what we're going to do. There is a spot here where we can add a screw and we can mount the fuse holder just like this, just as an L like this. Let's go ahead and build that. All right, so we're gonna start with some 1/4" ABS. The reason why we're using ABS, we work with 2 different types of plastic. We work with ABS, we work with Sentra. Sentra is low temp, ABS is high temp. So anytime you're going underneath the hood, you wanna use something out of ABS. Now all we need to do is put a slight bend in that. For that, we're gonna score a little line in here on the table saw. So we've gone ahead and mounted the fuse holder to the bracket. We've sanded down the back so that it won't, cut you or anything like that if you reach in. Now we're gonna go ahead and add in a piece of wire and wrap it around to the battery. Alright, so we're to that point to where we can go ahead and plug everything in. We're gonna wait to zip tie this up until we're done. Alright, so the last thing we want to do, now that we're done plugging all the harnesses in, is go ahead and plug in our iData. So we have the 3 harnesses plugged in. We'll go ahead and stick it back down. Let's go through the setup, get this thing going. So make sure you download the Kenwood DSP app to your phone from the App Store or the Google Play Store. Go ahead and turn the ignition on and then click Bluetooth icon in the bottom corner. It's gonna search and find your amplifier. Go ahead and tap it. It's that simple. When this lights up blue, you're connected. The first thing we wanna do is go to speaker connection. We'll type new, enter a name for this setting. We'll say RAM1, save. We'll come over here. And now what we wanna do is tap on It's going to ask us, do we want stereo bridged? We're going to call it front. Go ahead and tell it that you're going to have it as left. And then come down here and tell it. Is it a full range, a tweeter, a mid bass, or woofer? In this case, it's going to be full range, but let's take a look. You can say it as tweeter, and it'll give you a small speaker there. We'll come over here and we'll click mid bass. It gives you a bigger woofer there. But we'll click full range, and we'll move on to the next, which is rear. We'll select left. It'll autofill right. We'll select full range. We'll go to 5 and 6. We'll tell it it is a subwoofer. Gives it a bigger woofer there. And then these are off. Now, 7 and 8, 9 and 10 are the RC outputs. So if you want to hook up a second amplifier, you can. So if you wanted to use 5 and 6 as mid bass, or you get the idea, you can configure this amplifier any way you want. Okay, so that's what it's going to look like. It's going to tell you front left, front rear. So front, rear, sub. And we'll go ahead and send it to the amplifier. And it's done. Now we can go back and we can pick sound settings. We're going to click new and label this RAM System 1 and click save. Now we can go ahead and come in here. And at this point we get to do all the fun stuff. So we have digital time alignment.
That will be 210 feet. 2 feet.
Alright, so we're going to go in here and select next. And we'll type in 2 foot 10. And we'll tap back. We'll tap off. Go to your next speaker. Tap next. We're going to type in 4 foot 10. Or was it 4 foot 9?
4 foot 9.
4 foot 9. We'll select back. Select off. Go to our next speaker. Select next.
2 foot 6.
Alright, we'll go 2 foot 6. We'll go back. Turn that off. Turn the next one on. And select next.
5 foot 1.
Go back. Turn it off. Turn on the subwoofer. The subwoofer. What do you got? 4 feet? Alright. Now, turn that off. Now we have the time correction set up. We go into each one, we can now adjust the gain. So we can turn the level down or turn the level up to the 0 point, which we'll come back to. Now we can go into the digital crossover, select the speaker. These are the fronts. We'll select next. Type, low pass, high pass. And then we can select the frequency. So these are 6x9s. So we're going to start with 87 Hertz. We can turn them down, so if we need a negative gain, we can do that. We have the option for crossover of Butterworth at 12, 18, or 24. Link widths at 12 or 24. We're going to stick with the Butterworth at 18, and we're going to keep our phase at normal. We can also reverse phase. When we're done, we'll go back. We'll turn them off. We'll select the rears. And we'll do the same thing. It's the same speaker, so we're going to mimic the same crossover. We'll go back, come to our, turn them off, turn on the subwoofer, select next. It is a low pass. We're going to leave them also. We're at 78 is good. 12 dB, perfect. Go back, go back. Now we have our graphic EQ, which we'll come back to in a little bit, and we have a parametric EQ. Select each speaker individually, or together, or all. We'll select the fronts, and we'll select next. And then the graphic EQ also works the same. You can have front rear sub, or you can make the EQ individual for each one. And then you can adjust the EQ accordingly. You can also turn the phone so that you can adjust each one individually. And then we'll hit reset and we'll select back. So once you've gone ahead as an installer and set this all up, or as the person programming the system for a friend or whatever, and you don't want them to play with all this, on the side of the amplifier there is an A/B switch. default out of the box is set up for master installer. If you flick the switch, it goes to looking like this, where you have positioning. So you have installer, you have front all, left, right, and all. You can go back. And then you have EQ presets. Now, you can go ahead and tap any one of these. Now what it's doing is it's not changing the underlying installer EQ that you just did. What this is just a layer that it adds on top of it so that your EQ stays. And if you just like the way yours sounds, just leave it on natural. That's basically flat. And then if you just want a little bump here or there, depending on what type of music you're listening to, that's what all these are for. And then you have your subwoofer level control. So it's not in the installer app, it's in the user app. So you can go ahead and turn the subwoofer level up or down from the app for the user, not the installer. And that's it. There's the consumer side of the amplifier, or the basic user interface. So now at this point you're going, oh my god, that thing does a ton of crap. Yes, it does. It does a ton of stuff between the EQ, the parametric EQ, the time correction, and the several choices of crossover points. It's huge. But this is the evolution of what we're coming to. Amplifiers that allow us to integrate into the factory system, give you a much improved system and tons of adjustment. Now keep in mind, you don't have to use any of these things if you don't want to. You could simply just set up the crossover, put it in consumer mode, and it'll just act like a normal radio in that it'll just give you basic EQ settings, you know, pop, rock, jazz, all that fun stuff, make it real easy to use. If you want to take it to the next level, you can, but you don't have to. It's designed to be, like most Kenwoods, as hard or as simple as you like. That's it. It doesn't have to be crazy. You know, you make it as crazy as you want it. He paid us to make it crazy, so at this point we're gonna sit in the car and play with all those cool gadgets and dials and buttons and make it sound the best that we can with the equipment we put in.
You know how I feel. A single point in the center of your sound.
Alright guys, there you go. We're done with this bad boy. So we put the iDataLink AR, the Kenwood Exelon XR606 DSP amplifier in. I'm not going to tell you it was the easiest thing we've ever done. We ran into a few hiccups here and there, but no big deal. We worked them all out. In the end, it doesn't really matter because it sounds amazing. Yeah. So that's key. Yeah. Now, if you're looking to do one of these, definitely go slow. The instruction manual for the amplifier is kind of thin and vague. It really doesn't explain a lot, which I think is kind of a disservice to the product. The product is amazing. It does so much stuff, but they don't give you a description of any of the settings. So if you know what you're doing, it's great. But if you don't know what you're doing, you have no idea what parametric EQ is, or what the frequencies on the 13 band are for, or just time correction in general. It doesn't tell you how to set any of that stuff up. So hopefully there'll be a user manual at some point, maybe online, that you can download for it. Who knows, there might even be one now, we're just not aware of it.
Probably, yeah.
So that's that. Fernando, if you please.
Alright, so thank you for watching. You guys can find us, you know where. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram.
Twitter.
And Twitter.
That's right, so check us out on Twitter. Monday night, 6:30, we do the Facebook Live show. So make sure you check that out. That's Eastern Standard Time because we're in beautiful Florida. And with that, we're going to wish you guys a great day, a good night, and we'll see you later.
Don't forget to subscribe.
Well, if you're still watching, we hope you're subscribed. But otherwise, subscribe, like it, share it, whatever.
Yeah.
See you. Bye.